All right. Well, appreciate everybody calling in. My name is Travis Kosbaum. I'm the Stage 1 uh, Assistant National Manager for Terracon, and we are excited to talk to you about Stage 1 and how that can help you with your projects. Today, we have Chris Green. He'll be presenting and sharing kind of some of his experiences with Stage 1, some of the clients that he's been helping with Stage 1 and other projects throughout the country. And if you got any questions throughout the presentation, please go ahead and type it in chat. We'll do our best to respond to those questions during the presentation. We may save some of the questions for the end. And our contact information, as you can see on the screen here, that will also be displayed. A recording for all attendees will be available at the end of the presentation. So if you missed something, you want to go back and look at it, you can definitely do so. Yeah, we look forward to sharing this information. Hope you enjoy, can take some good takeaways from it, and I will turn it over to Chris.
Thank you, Travis. Again, Christopher Green, not really a professional speaker, but I really want to kind of sit down and tell you guys about Terracon Stage 1 and kind of what we have to offer here. And kind of go through this from a not necessarily a sales pitch standpoint, but from a practicality standpoint, kind of some lessons that we've learned. I'd like to show you what a Stage 1 is, what we do to pull it together, the information that goes into it, and kind of identify if this is an opportunity or something that you might be interested in. Terracon, we always start our meetings with a IIF moment, incident and injury free. It's a safety moment. It's trying a safety lesson. And I've been doing this one. A friend of mine gave a presentation earlier in the summer, and it kind of really hit home because I'm a swim coach, and you kind of see things. And we got down south, at least we got 2 months left of summer and swimming season. So one of the things I wanted to make sure that we pointed out was swimwear safety. So depending on where you're going and what type of swimming you're doing, the color of your bathing suit actually does matter. If you're swimming in a lake, it's usually darker. There's a lot more less clarity and reflectivity of the bathing suits. So again, this is kind of was an interesting graphic that I've been showing around. The color of your swimsuit actually does matter, depending on the type of water body you're swimming in. So please, everybody, be safe. In Nashville, where I'm centrally located, we have 2 major lakes, and it's swim season when you start hearing about the incidents and issues that happen on. So again, with a couple months left in swim season, please be safe. So I want to tell you a little bit about Terracon. So we have a safety culture, but we also have services available in all 50 states. I was told that the numbers I have on here have been recently upgraded to where we now have 7,000 employees and over 180 locations. So we've got offices all over the United States, the ability to serve. And for a product like Stage 1, it allows it to kind of come in handy and give actual local information and local screening of what we're kind of looking at. We offer services from facilities, environmental, geotechnical, and materials. And then we've been in business for 59 years. So part of the data that we're representing in our Stage 1s is that data from 59 years worth of knowledge component. Here are the people. If you have any questions that we don't answer or you want to do a deeper dive online, please go to terracon.com/stage1. This is mine and Travis's points of contact, emails, phone numbers. And then we also have Marcy Fox, who's one of our leads, our Stage 1 leads, leads the group up there in Buffalo. So you can kind of see how it's a national framework to assist on a local level. So when we start with looking at Stage 1, one of the items we look at is what do the decision makers need? What do you need for either your site selection or to move your project forward through to construction. There's some items that we've had direct conversations with our clients is the environmental concerns. Is the site a brownfield? Is there a leaking underground storage tank on site? Things that you might find with the phase 1 ESA. The geotech assessment, is there a karst, what the level of bedrock is, what the flood zone is, what type of, is there rock that's going to have to be excavated? If you're putting in a C-store with an underground storage tank, a gas station, and you have very shallow bedrock, putting that underground storage tank pit in place is going to cost a lot more. So we're able to, some of our clients have started switching over to these. Either they have multiple sites that they want to take a look at and narrow it down to the best ideal site, or they have a site in mind, and this type of screening tool can give them the quick answers. And you'll see some of the timelines here, quick answers that they need to make some very important ROI decisions. So again, stage 1, we're offering this within a week from a 50,000 foot. It does not provide the AAI compliance that a phase 1 does. And it also doesn't have the ground truthing that a geotech does. However, it is the overview photo picture of what a site may entail, and some, basically pulling out red flags very early on in the process. So you need to understand a good idea of a site's potential, both above ground and below ground. This can be directly related to your project's development. This could impact the schedule, and it can absolutely, depending on your risk tolerances, elevate a risk of a site to make very important decisions if you want to go forward with it or not. Too little, cursory desktops that you've seen are just, hey, we looked at an online database, we didn't see anything, we're good. That might not be good enough. And then too late in the game, hey, this geotech, get a drill out there and drill in the ground and put auger bits in the ground. Depending on what your driller's backlog, it very well could take 4 to 6 weeks to get a design phase geotech turned around to let you know what's happening with the site. The stage 1 provides an overview of, like I said, red flags, overall geology. And we'll go into those, the portions of a stage 1 very specifically coming up. I'm going to show you how to order. I'm going to show you what data we have on our online server, as well as go through a example report so that you see what the documentations that are there. And part of what I like to do is compare what the costs are. I've provided a average due diligence cost. So if you're looking at a site and you need to go through a phase 1, phase 2, and you have a stream on site or potential wetland on site, you need to understand what this is in order to build and design around your project around it. You can see that phase 1 ESAs average sites, and a lot of this depends on your size and the type of site. But $2,500 to $4,500 takes 15 business days to turn those around. You may not have 15 business days, and the one that really comes into play more times are the geotechnical investigations. And then usually a phase 1 triggers a phase 2. Is there a potential for a phase 2 actually collecting soil samples, analytical results, and kind of comparing, hey, we identified recognized environmental conditions in our phase 1 ESA, and therefore we recommend to perform a phase 2 or limited sightings investigation to identify if those concerns, recognized environmental conditions, are real to the site, and will they be real dollar values that may impact the project. Likewise, wetland delineations. A wetland delineation can take up to 20 business days or longer, depending on the site, and average $5,000 to $20,000. You're looking at the necessary buffers, the necessary permitting, the necessary regulatory to move that through to get either a general permit or even an individual permit. Permit if we identify a wetland is potentially on site, after 20 business days, and then we say, hey, by the way, you need a general permit, that can add another, on top of the 20 business days, add another 2 months. And if it's an individual permit, because your project needs to be even more specific, that could take up to 6 months to a year, depending on how quickly your local regulatory and the Corps of Engineers are reviewing the documents at that time. The one I really like to talk about is the geotech investigation, and how the stage one supplements that. Again, the stage one is a higher level screening tool. It's not actual ground truthing, but a geotechnical investigation to get augers and turn augers on a site will absolutely depend on how quickly you can get a drill rig out there. I know locally in the Nashville area, 2 years ago, we couldn't find drill rigs fast enough. And what happened there is, hey, the quickest we can get a drill rig on site is 3 weeks. And people were calling us up with, well, we got a 60-day due diligence. We were cutting it real close. And that was 60 days. They were lucky. If they came to us and said they had a 30-day due diligence, we tell them the quickest we can get out there was, possibly 3 weeks to get a drill rig on site. And then we can start turning augers. But then we would also say, hey, if you need to know what your design level is, we can also, the design level geotech is pulling the augers, but we can offer this stage one as a screening tool to kind of tell you what your risk is, what your potential foundations may be, and just kind of talk through a 50,000 foot level, depending on where you were with the design of your building. A lot of clients at that time were just looking at acquiring the land, and they didn't know what they wanted to put on the property. So we can give them the framework of what they could put on the property and say, hey, this is, but if you want to put deep foundations on it, this is where you're going. And this is what, if the site needed deep foundations, that's the type of information we could have provided with the stage one, as opposed to an in-ground geotechnical investigation. So you can kind of see how cumulatively, these are just four of the quick due diligence things that normally happen on a site, but you can see how the costs can escalate and increase rather quickly. So, as I mentioned, we've taken the data, we've looked at the public sources, we've taken the 60 years of the Terracon data, we take local personnel who are aware of the local geology and the local environment, and then we also have a national dedicated team, and we present them on a platform called Compass. So we've taken all of this information, combined it into what is called a stage one report, and we provide that for a quick turnaround time and a significantly reduced cost compared to those previous numbers that we had. Again, the stage one does not replace a phase one or a geotechnical investigation, but it does provide the overview and the understanding of the site, giving a little bit of comfort on a site moving into it. So, like I said, I wanted you to remember those previous numbers, but please take a look at this. Is kind of what we're talking about: site acreage, sites by feet. I know I tried to blow it up as much as possible and show you what it is. But again, this is for a quick screening by professionals with stamped geotech considerations. You be the judge if this is worth it for your project. I don't see a reason. There's certain things called no-brainers, but again, this is where it is. So what I want to do is kind of talk through how to order this. The thing we'd like to say is jump quickly into the online presentation, because you get to see the hands-on aspect of this. And I'm working on 3 screens here, so if I'm not staring at you, I'll be looking at one of these other 2 that I'm either presenting or I've got stuff set up to talk through it. But I want to kind of show how to order a stage one. So first things first is you go through the Compass portal. If you have a site ID, you outline it with the drawing tools. It's really straightforward. And I'm going to show you these items as we go forward with this. So please, got a blank sheet up. So you get get your client that sends you, can you see this?
Yes, we
Okay,
can.
thank you. So you get a client that sends you an email that says, hey, we have this potential site at near 1421 Lowe's Way in Plainfield, Connecticut. It's the triangle shaped parcel, and it's owned by Yusuf and PJ Holdings, right? So that's the only information that you have. And oh, by the way, we want to put this building on this site. So, next thing you know, you pull up, and I'm going to go into the fun part here. You pull up your tool, you click in, you type in the address. This is our pivot platform. More about that later. This can also be used with Google Earth. But you type in, you find out that the site address is 1421, and now you're looking for the triangle piece of parcel. So you open up your parcel viewer, which is pivot parcel map, and you see the triangle piece parcel adjacent to this area that is owned by Yusef and PJ Holdings. And you're like, okay, I guess this is where we're at. So what we do is then we confirm that with the client, log into your Compass ordering platform, click on order stage 1. You see all the fancy Terracon offices and how we give you local help. And then you zoom in. As I said, this is one that we've already pre-set up for you. And you click on, here's the same triangle shaped parcel owned by, as we see, owned by Yorwowski and PJ Holdings. So you click on the parcel map, you identify that parcel, you identify this parcel below. Now, some of the data I want you to be aware of in looking at this. You not only see the previous geotechnical efforts that Terracon has performed, and we can also look at the aerial with labels. It just doesn't show up as nice. You see the previous geotech. So when we're providing a geotechnical overview of a site, naturally, hey, we've done work within a quarter or a half mile of the site. So we pretty much know what's happening here. But you also see the regulatory listings on the site. And this is all part of your ordering process. You will see this data. These are the environmental listings that may impact your site. So if you're gauging this site as far as the risk or the potential risk for an environmental opportunity, the environmental efforts, you can see if there's a high consolidation of the green arrows. This shows you if what's there, and then you can also see if Terracon has a lot of red dots near it. There's going to be more ground truthing available to kind of identify our stage 1 findings. So again, we clicked on these 2 parcels here. We would click to order, but since we've already got it set up, I just want you to click to order. And here's the better thing, the list of services that we offer through the stage 1 platform. The full geotechnical, environmental, natural, and cultural resources consideration would be $3,650. And based on the size of the property, I think I'm going to have to remember back. There's, can somebody put in the based on a 200-acre site, what the turnaround time is on that, please? I'm sorry, I didn't remember that from the previous slides, but I think you're talking 5 business days to get this turned on. Please tell me if I'm wrong. 3 to 5 business days, I know, depending on the level of service that you're offering in this. So you highlight the service you want, click on it, and then you click order. Off it goes. Our local offices receive the order. We'll get a local geotech, a local environmental working on this. And then, as they turn it around within the 3 to 5 business days, again, depending on the site, you will receive 7 business days for the full stage 1 for 100 to 500 acres. Thank you, Travis. So 7 business days. Again, we could do these, the smaller the sites, the quicker they turn around. So you order it, and then you get the compass in the report and everything through compass. So what do we get here? So here's the site plan that we had previously identified. You lay out the site plan on the site. You, as the person ordering it, can drop the KMZ and drop the site plan in site, and it gets placed there. Why? What does this offer us? Well, again, we can show the Terracon data that you saw previously, where it is on site. You can click on, once you've ordered it, you can click on the EDR data that comes with it. Each one of these is also a clickable layer that identifies, oh, hey, here's the handcraft textile prints. It is lower in elevation. It's a Quarantz review, and there's a manifesting. And for those of you who understand environmental efforts, here's a Packer Road. It's a Packer Road landfill. So there was a landfill on this site. An auto station that was on the site. So you have the data. It's the cursory data that kind of tells you, here's the high level items that are on the site. And we, Terracon, look at this information on how it will be used and kind of assign a level of risk, assign, hey, is a phase 1 ESA required? Yes. If you want all appropriate inquiries and liability protection, yes. But what is the risk of a phase 2 on the environmental side of the house? Additionally, you have these base maps that are here. You get to see what the bedrock geology is. I'm going to turn off this so it's not as busy, the site plan. Oh, you see the bedrock geology, the depth to bedrock, the depth of bedrock map here. Likewise, you have the expected lithology of the site, of which you can click on expected lithology, Hinkley. You can click over on the Hinkley formation. I hope this doesn't open a new tab. I'm trying not to. Hinkley. Here we go. It's going to kick me back. This shows you the expected lithology on the site of what you would be talking about in the Hinkley formation. We'll go back to viewing the map. Likewise, the Merrimack. What is our Merrimack lithology looking like? Here's what we're looking like: poorly graded sands. You're looking at a water table approximately about 15 feet. Again, expected lithology based on the servo maps that we've been putting in there. So what I'm going to do now is kind of show you a final product and go back and forth between the two of them. So you send in the order, you get, after 7 days, you'll get this report. There's a lot on the table. Like I said, I'm going to go back and forth between the two of them. The report takes all of the information that we've compiled, and we provide a summary of constraints and next steps, from fill associated with the previous developments, aeolian deposits, grading plans, shallow environmental, cultural resources, wetlands, federally protected species. All of this information in this stage 1 report is on that Compass platform. So the one part I really recommend is, let's turn off the expected lithology, click on your site map, and then let's show the NWI, the National Wetland Inventory. This one's a big file, so this one usually takes a little bit, plus we're running teams. So let's give it a minute while it thinks, because it is pulling the entire NWI map. Yes, I need that. So it worked really good earlier, Travis. So, but I guarantee you it's the teams impacting. National Hydrography. So you can zoom in and see from this one's the National Hydrography. I'm always bad with the NHD and you can identify if there's potential streams or floodplains on the site just from a cursory view of the data. The NWI map is fantastic. It actually calls out the there are wetlands on this site in this area, but for some reason, with everybody in the teams, it just doesn't usually like to do that. So I'm going to move on. You get your FEMA floodplain map and your hydric soils. There we go. There's the hydric soils. So if you're not aware, hydric soils usually means wetlands. There's three characterizations. There are three requirements for wetlands: hydrology, hydric soils, and the plants that are on the site. So you already know that there's hydric soils on the site within blue, and that matches one of the issues and concerns. Perfect. There we go. There's the NWI. So you can see on your NWI map, hey, we're building this warehouse, and we have swamps and wetlands on the south area. That could very well be an issue associated with the project design. And as such, desktop resources showed evidence of aquatic features on site. Portions of the site fall within the map soil areas with hydric components. All of the items that I've mentioned previously. These are items that may impact a project. Anybody that's familiar with the project, these are absolute red flags, and would make you consider if you want to place a building on top of these, or if you can develop designs around to facilitate it. So, or if there's even credits available to do so. So let me go to the presentation. That's what I mean. So you can kind of see how you can pull in these layers. We've got the environmental layers, which are the arrows. We got the wetland areas, which are the NWI maps. So, hey, Chris, I saw something about cultural on there, cultural resources, cultural items. At the bottom here, there's cultural resources, National Register of Historic Places. So let's click on this. If this is a federally funded or there's a federal nexus on a property, these are items that you definitely have to consider and how close they are to it as well. Several of our solar clients that are looking for federal grant funding or something associated with the Department of Agriculture, they definitely need to identify this. So you have one that's here, National Register of Historic Places, the Packerville Bridge. So there's a bridge here that has items that you may have to look into. Again, we're just pointing out high-level red flags that might be on here. The town itself is his National Register of Historic Places, the town of Plainfield. This here is, I believe it's an environmental issue. This is an old landfill in a waste lagoon. So you can see how much data you can get from very specifically just from the Compass platform and the data that's input in here. But then you go back to the report and you can kind of see how our local professionals have looked into the area, rendered an opinion, summary of potential constraints on site. But then we also go into we identify the project, make sure that, hey, the 227 acres that we show on this project are definitely the 227 acres that you're concerned about. In the geotechnical consideration, I'm going to put this right here. You can identify anticipated foundation systems, anticipated excavation equipment, pavements, seismic class. I know that that's a pretty, we're always getting people that say, can we go from a D to a C? The bedrock, how deep bedrock will be. If you get bedrock on the shallow portions of this, that can impact a significant cost. One of the quotes on the scroll was from, I had a client that said, man, we're down into this. We're already going through 4 portions of the due diligence period. And, we just wish we knew ahead of time. I go, well, have you thought about this? We have this thing called the stage 1. So every time they start going down a road with the site, they'll order the stage 1 to be aware of any unexpected surprises about the site. It's, we render the opinion, hey, there's shallow bedrock on the site. You are going to have to take blasting into consideration. Likewise, groundwater, if you have to dewater a site to put your foundations in, are you going to encounter something? Is settlement likely? There was a site in Mississippi, the Yazoo clay. If anybody's done any work in Mississippi, our client had to undercut the site by 12 feet because the shrink and swell of this clay could be as much as a foot to 2 feet. Again, so the differential settlement on the site was quite substantial. So understanding, even before you go into the site selection and constructions, what you may encounter. If I come up to you and you say, hey, we want to build this huge factory warehouse on this site, and we come back and say, hey, there's Yazoo clay under here. This is what it means for your site prep and your site planning. You might have an issue. Also, one of the other things that we do look at when we provide this information, I'm in the geotech side of the house, but for the environmental considerations, we look at the history of the site. We look and identify, we look at the adjoining properties. We identify what is plotted within the area, within the 24 listings. We look at the historical use of the site based on aerial photographs. We say, hey, if you have a site that has been turned over and that has been excavated and, backfilled and the whole site's been redone, environmentally, you could have an issue there because you might have fill material that was put on site. Hey, we noted this site was excavated and there was soil piles on the site, but we also take the databases and we render an opinion. We say, hey, there was 24 sites plotted on this site, exactly what we showed earlier with the inverted, the green arrows up and then the inverted red arrows down. Hey, there was 24 sites listed on this. So if you hear 24 sites on an area, there's a high potential that one of those 24 might have some wreck associated with it. We identify there's a high likelihood, low likelihood, and I'll show you that later when we get further into it. Hey, there's a landfill on the site. If the landfill was close enough, could the groundwater be impacting the site? And here, I'll show you this is where we go based on the regulatory database for Compass. Yeah, based on a review of the database reports, database listings, aerial imagery, and anticipated physical setting, there is a high likelihood of potential environmental concerns for the site. Everything I just mentioned, kind of summing it up right here. Likewise, cultural considerations. Are there any sites located or cemeteries? Is there anything on the site or anything within a quarter mile? Again, the one bridge that we identified that was outside of the quarter mile. We identify anything that could be very well potential on site when we look at it. And then finally, like I said, my favorite, wetlands. Hey, are there wetlands? Are there hydric soils? Is it within a regulatory floodway? All of which has the potential of impacting your project. And so these are the 4 types of services that we can provide in a combined report. If needed, we've, one of the main lead times that we have is with the geotech side of the house. We've had clients that have ordered just the geotech for considerations after they've ordered their phase 1 ESA. They start the phase 1 ESA to get the AAI liability protection that's associated with that. And then they'll trigger the geotech portion, because both of which will, the geotech only portion would probably take 3 to 5 days to turn around on a site, but the environmental ESA will be 15 business days. They'll have their understanding of where it is. But, for a smaller fee, we can add in the wetlands and the cultural resources in the stage 1 environmental screening. So I'm going to switch back to the presentation. I'm going to take a breath. Is there any questions?
I've answered a couple of them in chat already, Chris. One of them, I don't know if you want to elaborate a little bit on. Christian asked about, having nearby historical data and comment on the potential variability of the information.
Yeah, the potential variability of the information. As you see, we pull from the National Register of Historic Places. Many states have their own databases, and you can even get into the county level. So again, we caveat the data, and we say, hey, we looked at the National Historic databases, and understanding that there is always that potential. Likewise, we look at the IPAC for the endangered species. Hey, we look at the IPAC. This is a general overview of what the county has listed. Again, depending on your level of risk tolerances and if you actually encounter a federal nexus, we are just raising the flag to let you know that it's there. So that's where I'll go with that one, Travis. Any other questions?
Not at the moment. Looks like Sunny might have a question. Sunny, if you want to type your question in chat, we can respond to that. But I'd say go ahead and proceed, Chris.
Okay, I will. So as I showed you, this was the interactive experience. We have several. Sunny, type your chat in, please. I see we can't unmute one person. Sorry.
So she asked if there's a size limit for the site.
Travis, I'm going to let you answer that one.
There's not a size limit. I mean, we've had projects from, hundreds of acres to tens of thousands of acres for some of these large developments. Sometimes on the larger sites, the fee is going to really vary due to a lot of the environmental reports that we have to pull, and the different costs are variable with that. So as you can see on our fee schedule, we go 25 up to 5,000, but then for pricing above 5,000 acres for a bundle package, that would be something that would be quoted depending on the size of the acreage.
Yep. And then as you can see, these are items I mentioned. The a la carte, we could do just the geotechnical considerations. We could do just the environmental considerations, cultural considerations, and then we do, combo fees, bundle fees. I love the online discount versus old school, faxing in order. Do we still do that? Anyway, okay, so with that, I'm going to move on to the other conversations. That was the interactive portion of the site, and there's plenty of stories that I have. So we went through the interactive experience, kind of talked about the different levels, and went through the conversations. And what we've seen is the different types of client experiences that have occurred with this. As we mentioned, we have quick turnarounds. Georgia Power is using these for siting of their projects. Fills in gaps with quick determination items. You get a lot of data real quick. What is being used. The lithology, again, as we talk through the geotech portion of it, you can see very specifically what the geotech considerations are. What is, and I'll open that up as well. So, I like this interactive portion of this where I can go back and forth between things. See the different items, karst constraints, dewatering. It really does fill in a lot of information for the site. We likely, you'll know what is found based on even what we've done with ground truthing and projects that are really adjacent to it. And the other thing is, like I said, I'm in Middle Tennessee. There's certain areas of town where if we're doing a stage one, we'll be like, hey, there's a lot of fill material on this. You need to pull that out as urban fill, and you need to take that into consideration for the oh, hey, you're on the east side of the Cumberland River. The east side of it has 50 foot until bedrock, whereas on the west side of the river, you're on the exterior of the oxbow. You're hitting rock on the surface. So again, it's taking that local knowledge that our local practitioners have and inputting that into a report. So you're getting our musings per se, but our information that we've pulled in through lessons learned through the history of working in and around it.
Hey, Chris, got a question. If you want to go
Yep.
back to that previous slide, Christian asked about what happens when we have a structurally complex area that hasn't been previously studied in terms of determining their lithologies. So from the geotechnical perspective, and how does a stage one work in that regard?
Again, the stage one provides generalities with the lithology, and like we said in this area, we will specifically pull out the lithology that not only that we've done locally, but also that we've pulled from resources, Sergo series resources, where we've done the investigation. We've digitized the data, and we've identified kind of what is in the best guess of that area. Now, we're not talking if you have a site that is a pretty big site, you could have very minor fluctuations across the site. And again, you could have one area where you have a pinnacle of rock, and then the next area where you have glacial fill. And we've seen this on some sites that we've been doing up in the Cincinnati area, where we as practitioners know, hey, there could be and we'll put that out in there. Hey, there could be a fluctuation based on the depth of bedrock in this area because of X, Y, or Z, and we will provide contingencies and understanding of, hey, there is a potential for high variability here. But if you look at our dots, again, you look at the dots for the Terracon projects, you can kind of see if there's a lot of dots in one area, there's a better opportunity for us to be more precise about it. If there isn't as many Terracon dots, and so it reduces the level of precision, the whole precision versus accuracy conversation. So that's where I'll go with that one. Does that work?
Yep, and I'll go ahead and summarize a little bit in chat. So go ahead and proceed.
Okay, thank you. Again, we've had some clients that have used this as a contract negotiation tool. The one client that I mentioned before, they actually were able to identify early on if they had blasting for their tank pits, and they were able to go back to the parent company and say, hey, we've got this. Before we go on with any other due diligence, we need to renegotiate early, as opposed to, hey, we've already spent $40,000 on due diligence. We need to negotiate now, and they're already over the barrel at that point. So again, this screening, the stage one, allows it to get more information sooner to kind of, for better terms, hedge your bets with what's provided. This one was easy to interpret. So the stage one features it provides, like I showed you, is the a high level summary of what's on the site. It provides tables, the detailed tables that we showed in there. Allows you to look at the smart work plan, and again, interactive online platforms. You do have access to the Compass platform. This is the same when you get a stage one report. This is the document and what you will have to, I only clicked on 3 or 4 of these layers. There's so many more of these layers that can be clicked on and used for interpretation purposes. Again, if we wanted to go line by line, we would be here for multiple 4 hours. But again, this is the type of database that you get, as well as the report that is reviewed by local practitioners. And then we go through quotes and things here. So I don't need to go through those. Case studies. This was a case study that Bureau of Ataros Technical Assessments. you can kind of see that the problem was that it was taking us a while to turn around reports, to turn around quality geotechnical reports. In order to put a auger in the ground, you need to do the 811, you need to call, you need to get accessibility. So we offered the stage one as a solution. And then we were able to do almost 200 stage ones for this client to kind of get them the overall while geotechnical work is ongoing, basically allowing them that high level understanding of the site geotechnically to kind of make determinations to keep their projects moving forward. And then they're backed up in ground truth by actual geotech work. So again, this is one way that stage one has saved time and added additional efficiencies onto a project. Speed is everything. That's one of the reasons why we tell you how long the report should be turning, how long it takes a report to be turned in. And our stage one team is really good about keeping on those deadlines. If there should never be a reason why we are late, but with that being the case, we do defer to a lot of the local practitioners. We keep on time, and that's what you're paying for. You're paying for the speed. So you kind of see 10 potential sites. We've done this with portfolio projects to whittle it down to the best one site. So could you imagine spending the full due diligence opportunity package, phase one geotech, on 10 sites just to see if one works? The stage one is for site selection, it's a great screening tool. It takes what Terracon is good at: environmental, geotechnical, cultural, environmental planning resources, packages them into one 50,000 foot view of the site, and allows and it basically assigns risks and risk levels to our findings. So again, that's where this we were able to assist with this infrastructure company to take it from 10 sites to one site and reduces the cost and maintains the speed and efficiency as needed. Yeah, this is one that this is absolutely one that's close to my heart. It's not one of mine, but we did have national retailers that needed the information. They needed the information early on in their process before they went through the design phase and went down through the design phase. And we were able to save them both time and money to kind of make considerations and anticipate the foundation systems, identify high-level geohazard evaluation. Just that's what this is for, and why we facilitate it this way. A lot of times, some of our national retailers are, like I mentioned earlier, hey, we have 30 days for our due diligence. Well, we can get you a phase one ESA pretty quickly, but geotech, we're going to have to do it this way. You can get the phase one, again, if there's a closing that's happening in 30 days, and you just need to understand what the site is. Definitely, we would always recommend the geotechnical stage one portion of it. Again, the level of the package and the level of the bundle depends on what you're looking for. We can come at it with a high level with the environmental aspect of it if you're looking at the multiple sites. But if you have your mind on one site, definitely you go forward with the phase one, and then add the geotech as a supplement to kind of pull in. And I know that some of the people on stage one are cringing. We could do all four for you, but the phase one portion gives you that innocent landowner protection, and that takes 15 to 20 business days usually. So again, if you want a screening tool to identify what you might be getting into, stage one all day long. But if you have your mind set on a specific site and you want that screening, we can facilitate it either way. I'm gonna go here. We have 10 minutes left. Open up the floor to questions, and maybe give everybody a couple of minutes back in their day.
I had one question come to me, Chris. Do you have to log into the website to be able to view the report?
Um, I love it. You can answer that one, Travis.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
so the response would be, it's definitely a deliverable that we'd recommend logging into the portal to be able to view it, basically because you're going to see all the extra map layers, all the extra information that you can see that if you just take the PDF of the report and you don't log in and you don't really view it online, you don't get all the map features with it. So that's kind of really part of the information that's being available to the overall stage one deliverable.
Yeah, we can absolutely deliver you a signed PDF if that's the way you want to go. It's your level of delivery, and accessibility is completely up to you.
Any other questions? Yes, Gabriel. It has come a very long way. It's from our concept back in 2012 of Compass. It's continually improving and new things coming out. Got a question from Kristen about using stage one as part of a due diligence. Is it correct that it can to say that it can be stamped and used for due diligence?
It's again, it's your level of due diligence. So a stage one does not have it does not facilitate what is covered by a phase one ESA for all appropriate inquiries. So, but if you want to do if it's a due diligence screening tool where you just need to understand what you're looking at, it comes down to your level of risk tolerance using this. We make geotechnical interpretations based on our understanding of the site and the data available to us. We are not rendering geotechnical opinion rephrase that, the design level geotechnical opinion. If we say that, hey, the data shows that it is karst limestone 50-foot deep, here's our stage one, and we get out there and it's 30-foot deep, well, that is a variability that would be identified within the report. But it's your level of risk tolerance as to what you may need. We can come up with, hey, based on what we've seen in this area before and using these soils, these are the foundation systems that we would recommend, or this is what we would recommend for the construction of the site or the excavation type of equipment. But nothing beats a geotechnical investigation and due diligence where we actually have real data and we're pulling soils information, proctors, facilitating the breaks and understanding exactly where it needs to do to come up with the design level geotechnical consideration. So again, depending on what you need, it's a screening tool, but it cannot replace either a phase one or actual geotechnical investigation.
I had another comment that came in,
Travis, I think we lost him. Does everybody still hear me? All right. Thanks, John. I thought I was the one that was going to be knocked off. Travis was the one that was knocked off. So I can see the chat now. So if anybody has any questions that might come through, I'm reading through them. Please let us know. Again, the people that you see up here on the screen are people that can answer the questions, talk through the conversation with you. If you just want to have a conversation about it, that's something that we'll offer. If it's something we can go into the weeds to identify if this is something that's right for your project. We can talk through it. We can come up with, we're consultants. We try to come up with solutions. And so that's kind of where I want you guys to understand is this is a really cool tool. It's a really good screening tool, but like any tool, it's only as good as what you want to use it for and how you use it. So again, we have a lot of data. We've assembled a lot of data, and it's a great opportunity. And again, I recommend taking a look at it and seeing if it's something that's right for you. So With that, and Travis probably furiously scrambling to get back on, I do want to say thank you all for attending, and thank you all for your time today. If you have any questions, please feel free to outreach anybody on this slide, or go to terracon.com/stage1, no space. And then we can kind of have the dialogue, go forward from there. And again, thank you very much, and we appreciate your time today.